Hey everybody, it's Doug T. This week on Running in the Dark, I got a good buddy of mine coming on. I wouldn't say great buddy, but we do the same thing, and that's how you get to know these guys. And this guy is from the Pacific Northwest. He lived where I wanted to live growing up in Seattle, man. He was up there where all the music was. And he's a comic that is absolutely unbelievable. His DryBar special is definitely picked up. So let me bring him in. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Pacific Northwest, Mr. Gabriel Rutledge.
If I'm out drinking anywhere and I hear a dude go, woo! Start the goddamn car. That's what that means. Nothing awesome is about to happen. Woo! Yeah, I smell Axe body spray. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I did my part by having the same look as many of your musical heroes did in the 90s.
Now, you started growing that. What year did you start growing that?
Well, I'm 49, and I started growing it when I was 40.
Oh.
Just because I was like, let's see if I can,
Now, have you hit a stage that you're like there were stages in there that you just had to push through like a bad bench press, right?
Yeah. I mean, a couple of years. Honestly, there's a couple of years where you're trying to slick it back. You're trying to pull it. It's awful. It's for a couple of years for sure.
Yeah. Let me bring this up. Yeah. I'm trying to grow mine and I'm in that, like my wife sometimes will be like, I think it's done. They're just like a peninsula. So I admire you for being able to take it. Cause I don't know. I think I'm at the end right now.
You're out already?
Well, I just don't think it will look like yours. I know it won't. It starts to look stringy, like I should be pushing a cart. I mean, it just starts to look bad. And
what's funny is it does change. It's like I used to wear hats all the time. Like you're wearing a hat right now when I had short hair. I wore hats all the time. And now I look like just a shitbag when I wear when I wear a hat, it's just like, welcome to Chevron, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
you look like the bass player from a Conway Twitty cover band.
Yeah, exactly. Or his roadie. I look like his roadie.
It's got like a big rooster on the front. Come on, girls. What's your name, man?
We need more monitors.
Yeah, I got left ear got blown out in 76. El Torino had a backfire. So you're in Vegas right now. Vegas.
Yes, sir. At the Rio, working the Comedy Cellar. My first time ever doing this, so pretty nice gig for sure.
Yeah. Now you play Garrett's out there a lot, don't you?
I do. I sort of. I guess I got it. Vegas has turned into like a cruise ship on land for me. But yeah, I'm doing, I work at Garrett's. I worked at the Laugh Factory. I'm working LA Comedy Club. I'm working the Comedy Cellar a bunch this year. So it's great. But as you know, the road comic life, every great thing that happens has a cost, right?
Oh.
So it's like the money is good. The prestige of it is great. It's all wonderful, but it's like there's 7-day long weeks. It's Monday to Sunday.
Yeah.
And so that means I have a family, I got a wife, I got 3 kids. I'm trying to not be constantly gone. So if I have those 7 days, it's like the week before I don't really want to do anything.
Yeah.
Or the week after, except for like local stuff where I live.
Yeah.
And so it's made my scheduling so hard this year. It's a good problem. I understand that.
Right.
But it's right now I'm in the middle of some travel that, let's just say it's good my wife's not on the third screen in this podcast.
Oh.
Because she would have some opinions on my career right now, and I don't blame her. It's been a lot.
It does, right? And I how old are your children now?
Well, I got a son in college. He's 20. And then I have a 15-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old daughter.
Okay, yeah. So you're right in that's the strike zone for like life. You know, Like I have a 19 and a 17-year-old, and I know exactly what you're saying, especially when you're on the road, and it amplifies because you're not there. So, yeah, I admired your hair, but I don't admire what you're going through with that right now, because I definitely know how that interacts.
And also, it's like, not that this isn't, actually, this is a pretty chill week. This is like, I'm just in a casino all week. But a lot of times our travel is insane. There's no sleep. You wait, whatever. It's a lot. But it's also like, this job is as fun as hell. If it goes well, everyone's kissing your ass after the show. It's like this amazing ego boost and all that. And then I call home and my wife's just, I can't. It's almost like when she's like, how are you doing? I have to be like, just missing you. You know what I mean? Like, I can't be like, last night was amazing. I got a standing ovation, and then I had like way too much Jameson after the show. It was amazing. Like, I have to be like, and not that I'm hiding things from my wife at all.
No,
but it's just I can't be like, I'm having the time of my life, and she's in hell. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like, And I think, gosh, I'm trying to put the words together on what you just said, and it's such a real thing, because when you get done with the show, you have that you kind of have anxiety all day, because you're going in front of a group of people that you've never met, and you got to make them happy. While you feel like sometimes the world around you is like going, "What do you do all day?" And you're like, "Well, I wear that for a lot of the day," because there is a lot of that weight. And as like, I don't know about you, but I start to see the hours tick closer and closer. I'm like, okay, 6 hours, so I got to start getting ready. And then I got an hour. And you wear that, and then you get done, you're like, God, if it went great, like you said, standing ovation, whatever. And you're just like, it's like you just achieved something, and meanwhile, you don't know the hell they've been going through at home, if they have. Or,
Yeah. or even if it's good, it's just hard to be, it's hard to miss things. It's hard to, like, whatever, miss plays or sporting events or important things that I try to be there for as many of them as I can, but it's just that work life. I will say 2020 was the first time my work life balance was too much life.
That's when I figured out I had to quit drinking. Literally, that was the year 2020 was like, dude, what is going on? Because you slowed down. It's like the merry-go-round slowed down. You're like, wait, why am I not still dizzy? I'm getting dizzy way too often.
Yeah, it was. But I mean, I've cut back a lot since 2020 drinking, because it was like, even in my neighborhood, you'd walk around, everyone's recycling was just like a bottling plant in my cul-de-sac. It was like, oh my God.
Sometimes there'd be shattered glass like this. Fuck it.
It's like, Bob, that 14 wine bottle.
And you're not making candles, putting them in the top.
Yeah, it was, I think people definitely were boozing it pretty hard in 2020. But yeah, it's this, you got a wife, you got kids, we have a similar life in that aspect, that it's like, sometimes the younger comics they'll be like, hey, you have a family and you made this work. And they sort of look at you for like, how did you make this happen? Or like, how did you make this work? Because it's what they want to do eventually. And the unfortunate answer is, I haven't really made it work. It barely sort of worked for 20 years now, but it's like, it's never like, it's routine, but it's never not hard. It's never not hard. It's never not giving something up. Either you're giving up money or opportunities, or you're giving up family and precious memories. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm standing right beside. I mean, everything you're saying, just like those thoughts that pop into my head all the time.
What if I pulled out a wine bottle right now?
So I'm over here. I got this. That's my new stuff. And we're not sponsored by that. This is not a paid promotion.
Not yet.
that is me just going all the time. So yeah. Now, when you are you around home more often? Because I know, like, on a lot of, I love how you do the drawings and where you're at.
Thank you.
That's the creative shit that, like, you remember. Like that's what people, because everybody sees, oh, I just put them here in text. And how you did, I like how you did that.
Yeah,
But
the fun. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I see a lot of them are in the Pacific Northwest. Are those home and back? Or are those home and overnight, then back?
Most of them were in my own bed. Most of them were within 2 or 3 hours of my house, which is great. That's really, that helps. I think I did the math, maybe not last year, but the year before. I think 33% of my money was sleep in my own bed money, which isn't bad.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really get that in Cedar Rapids.
No. Prom season with hypnosis shows, yes.
Oh, sure.
But then you're not even sleeping in your own bed. You're sleeping like on the way there because it's like 4 a.m. shows. But
that's the thing about those. Yeah, they're like, do you want to do a 2 a.m. in our high school gym? And you're like, whoa.
I've doubled them up. I've done 2 a night before. Like you're in this part I have at 1:30, and then you got to be the other place by 3:30, and you're just like, I hope I don't hit a deer. I hope I don't know. Then you're just driving home like at 5 a.m. as the sun's coming up. You're like, I can't believe I'm completely sober and driving home at this time in the morning. Yeah.
This is another thing. I'm just, this is what happens when married comedians with families get together. There's like, a couple thousand of us in the world? You know what I mean? It's not like a huge group of people who understand this. Like, so it's like, sometimes when I'm gone, like when I get back Monday, and it's like, I describe it like, how, like you'll see an abandoned car in the middle of a field, like when you're driving, and it's like
weeds starting to come through
weeds grow through it, flowers. That's what I feel like. It's like weeds and flowers start growing in my house where I used to be. Yeah. It's like where my desk, where my laptop is just piled with who knows what, just shit everywhere. The cat blankets on my side of the bed. I'm like, I was gone 7 days. I got replaced so fast. Like, there's always like new, like, when did we get that? I came home a couple months ago. I came home. On my side of the bed, on the headboard, was a laminating machine.
A calendar with X marks.
Yeah, I know.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
No,
a laminating machine was probably to put it on so you couldn't erase any of them.
Exactly. I'm like, when did we get a laminate? Why do we need a laminating machine? So it is like you come back and you got to find your place.
Yeah. Back
in the family life. It is this weird duality all the time. It is still always, it's always amazing to go home. That's always the best feeling.
Oh, now, like when I listen to this song, Time, and at the end on Pink Floyd's song, it's good to come home and warm my bones beside the fire.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think like, oh my God, that's what I listen to on the way home every time I take off on a plane to go somewhere. I'm listening to that song.
Oh, I'm doing that. I'm doing that in the Vegas airport on Monday. That's a great idea.
Put that album on, dude, and just go through that album, and it is like you're going, and like by the time the plane starts taking off, I have Us and Them. As soon as we start making our way out, I turn Us and Them right as we start making that corner, and by the time you lift off, it hits that piano part that comes in really hard.
Oh,
I'm
that's
telling
awesome.
you what, it is my way home. And one thing I do with family is I have 802 local recordings on this because I will record my family life. So when I get on a plane or if I'm stressed out, I put my family life, like us watching the TV show Survivor.
Yeah.
And it brings me home. And I'm listening to my family while I'm on like a trip or a road or on a plane. And it just it calms me down. And
that makes sense.
And sometimes you find like material from it, but sometimes it's just good to have your family in your head, because we spend a lot of time in our own head.
Yeah.
Like I feel. And like your insecurities peak here and there at weird times. And people are like, what are you worried about? And you're like, well, everything. I'm worried about my next 6 months of work, along with making my next 2 weeks work. That's like the stress of it.
I've described it to my wife. I've described being a comedian. It's like having an affair with myself.
Yeah.
Like there's no other women or not like that. But I just mean like I have this whole life where I'm like, I've been to the Middle East, I've been to Dubai, I've been to almost every state I've been, and like my wife and I have been to a couple of states and
Yeah.
Canada. And you know what I mean? It's like this whole, like all these experiences, which are amazing, that I'm like so blessed comedy has given me. But it's also like, there's a little bit of guilt of like, I'm supposed to be doing this with the people I love, not, by the way, it's just, the recording just said it started recording. What does that mean?
I don't know. I have no idea. I've had audio recording the whole time. So
Well, we got audio if nothing else, but
we got 20 minutes of just our faces there. People are like, is this buffering? I'm going to check one thing on my power strip right here. Hold on one sec.
okay.
That's great. There we go. My power cord came out over there. God, this is like a Arkansas show on Thursday night. The kid that doesn't normally manage has showed up, and he's like, I think we did a sound check. And you're like, okay, the mic's not plugged into the wall. I think it is.
I always said that back when I used to do. You probably never did them geographically, but you familiar with triple gigs?
Oh yes, I know what they are, but those are that side of you, like where you live.
Yeah. It was just like
treble runs or something like that. Everybody called it?
triple runs. It was a lot of one-nighters in like Idaho and Montana, but it was so funny because just talking about the sound guy, it was the sound guy. The DJ always was like a dude who was exhausted because he worked construction all day.
hands like catcher's mitts.
Yeah. Or there's like paint on his arm. You know what I mean? And then he's just up there like, yeah, we're good, we're fine. You know, I got to get up at 6 a.m. and roof.
Yeah, his idea of a sound check is and hearing a tinge of feedback. Yep, it's on.
Yeah, we're good.
Or they hit it like 5 times. Yep, it's on.
You're like, it sounds like it's on the karaoke setting. Like it's all reverby, you know.
I was through a guitar amp once in front of a dartboard, me and Tim Sullivan. And I started talking and it was reverb. I had to crawl up on this pool table to turn the reverb off. And this lady during the show came up and asked me to move so she could play darts, clearly knowing that we were doing a show.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there. So I don't even know where we jumped off, and then live pops up and I'm like, holy shit. All right. So we got the audio of the first part. I'll play some stuff. We were talking about family and life, but let's talk about one other thing. You did your DryBar.
Yes, sir.
When did you do it? And not that I don't want to talk about family, but
enough of them. Let's never speak of him again.
I'm afraid my wife's going to watch this and go, wait, why'd you get off the family part? What the hell's going on? And now I got to I tell everybody I got a mental cupboard and it just keeps getting shit stacked on it. So now you're closing it like that bad Tupperware drawer because you don't want shit to fall out. And then they want you to work on this part of your life. And you're like, I got a lot of other shit stacked on top of that I haven't got to. So we're not there. So
I take
your DryBar though.
Yeah, I take my DryBar September 2020. It was supposed to tape March 2020.
God, that is the day. That's the month right, that it hit. Yeah.
So I was supposed to tape like the end of March, and so obviously that didn't happen. And then so the September 2020, I was the first taping back, and they were like, "We're gonna do it'll be like 150 people. I think it's normally 250 or something like that. It'll be 100, socially distant 150 people." I'm like, okay, that's enough. And then they're like, it's going to be 100. I'm like, well, okay. And then by the time I taped, they're like, it's 50 people. And then, we taped 2 shows. We had less than 40 each show.
And for those who don't understand what we're talking about there.
Yeah.
Less is worse.
Yeah, if I went to the Comedy Cellar tonight and there was 40 people, it's fine. Yeah. Fine. But I've performed for 1.
Yeah.
But it's like, you don't want that to be your special, and you don't want it to be socially distant. It's already weird because it's DryBar. There's no alcohol. So like people are wearing the masks and then like pulling them down, throwing an M&M in there, putting the mask back up.
So they had masks on too?
Yeah, most of them. Not all of them. It's funny though, they show some crowd shots that were not my crowd because there's like no masks on the table. And
well, see, I wondered on that because the people you see are in the very front. There's a four-top there. But
yeah, I think some of it was my crowd, but there's a few shots that we were like, I don't think that was
but
my
you
people.
You opened that so well, like to address that. I
mean, thank you. I appreciate that. I was really
you just brought it to the forefront and it was like, I mean, did you write that right then?
Actually,
because you do a lot of that, I think.
Yeah, I think I just I thought to say it.
Yeah,
like flying down there or whatever. Just acknowledge, and I also wanted selfishly, I wanted the viewer to know, hey, this room's empty right now. Like it might sound like I'm not doing that well, but I want
as
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. One person's just.
You know that's that candy that's just a powder.
Oh, the pixie stick.
Yeah.
So they've got like a snorkel on the thing.
Yeah, put it in the top.
Yeah, you almost wanted to do crowd work just to hear how muffled their voices were, just to go, how do you work that in then?
Even the laughs coming through the mask are hard, and it was. But I was actually I first of all, it's fine. They helped me out. They really turned up the 40 people or whatever. It sounds fine. I would love it if it was a full room.
You sound like you're crushing, and you are. I mean, but that's not what mattered. That, I mean, now you look at what your views are, and that is the true audience of the room. Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think the fact that what you were dealt and how you handled it, dude, that's crazy good. Like, people, if they don't know, if you just think you have this material, and you have to think, and were you first, second, or third?
I was third.
Yeah.
And so nothing against the other two, who I will not mention, but not great sets.
Yeah. And they know that. I mean, it's not like if listen, if you're a comic and you don't know that you had a bad set, you're not a comic.
Yeah, that's true.
Because there's that silence is deafening when you're up there.
It turned out fine to the point where I'm kind of embarrassed now because I'm telling you, flying home after that taping. Because look, 2020. I was doing occasional shows. I was doing Zoom shows, but I was delivering groceries for Walmart after being a professional comedian for decades because our whole world just blew up. Do you know what I mean? And so it was like, when do you want to tape the DryBar thing? I'm like, yes, this is what is happening. This is a shit year. This is going to save it. You know what I mean? And so that was my lowest point of 2020 is that taping because I just felt awful. I just felt like this is going to be awful. It wasn't. Look, turning a shitty show into a mediocre one is it's almost more impressive than turning a good show into a great one. It's like, but it's not what you want your special to be. And also the mic went out for a while. In one of the shows.
Stage?
Yeah.
Oh man.
It actually ended up. I told him, I said, hey, if you leave that part in, that would be great because it was pretty funny. Like, I'm just like riffing without a mic, and then they don't. I think they said,
you have to.
It took forever to get a new mic up there. And then I hear from the sound booth, the guy goes, okay, just pick it up wherever you feel comfortable. And I go, I think that was yesterday. So it was I just felt like super depressed by the whole thing. And then when it came out and I saw the edit, and I was almost sheepishly like, it's fine, I guess I didn't need to be suicidal. I wasn't that bad, but I was really depressed about the whole thing.
Well, you wear it. I mean, how can you not? It's your life. It's telling people what you do for a living, and you don't want people to go like, oh, geez, I can't. Because
Yeah.
that's how you feel. I mean, that's truly it. Whenever I do a local show and I know people that I know are going to be there, oh my God, my anxiety goes sky high.
Yeah.
Because that's all I can think about is these people
Yeah.
are going to walk away going, geez, he does that for a living? If you
And
have a
you're
bad
gonna-
show.
You're going to see him at the grocery store.
Yeah,
They're like, hey, you still doing comedy? Stick with it, buddy.
you still doing those sketch things that you did at that bar that you remember? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember. Trust me, I remember. My therapist said, don't talk to anybody about that ever again. And there we are.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I also, my own DryBar experience was I got offered it early
Yeah.
before anyone would come out. And I said no because I am smart. I said yes to things I shouldn't have said yes to before. And so
Me too.
it got pitched, nothing against any of your Mormon listeners, but it's like
I don't know how far we reach.
it's like, hey, we're doing an app. It's clean comedy for Mormons, basically. And
Yeah.
I go,
The pitch wasn't great.
I'm like, there was no mention of Facebook or YouTube or anything. So I'm like, I
Right.
don't think. And then that first wave of people that I turned down that first wave. And those people came out and they got millions of views on Facebook and YouTube. It looked amazing. It looked incredible. And so,
This is the real reason you grew your hair long and that beard, right? So they couldn't remember what you look like.
it's a funny email too when it gets offered to me and I go, no. And then like 2 years later, I'm like, hey, remember me?
Oh, God.
I am now available. I am now Mormon.
So you got there. What did you think when they first sent you the first cut? They sent you your first cut, right?
My first thought was, it's better than I thought it was going to be. And also, they said they hadn't done any, they hadn't messed with the audio at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, we can still do. And I just said, hey, help me out.
Yeah.
Crank up the laughs. You know, it's better than it felt. It sounded better than it felt when I was on stage, but also like, yeah, let's really boost those laughs if you can, because I mean, this is a little. I'll admit this. I think most of the editing is just that, because it doesn't sound like 300 people. It just sounds like 50 people laughing. But
Yeah.
there's one joke where I said, I just have a joke about, a guy in line getting coffee. He said, "Hey, look like chubby Jesus."
Yeah. I remember that.
Okay. And so at the end of the joke, I go, I bet Jesus never got called a fat Foo Fighter.
Yeah.
And that, when I did that joke at the DryBar taping, the response from the crowd was, oh, it threw me. Like, it was like, they were like, I don't know if they felt bad for me. I don't know if they don't know who Dave Grohl is. I don't know, but it did not hit. And when you,
hit, just not them.
Yeah. If you, they were like, oh, they're throwing
that
candies.
email all over again. Hey.
They have a sucker in their mouth. What's he talking about?
Or worse yet, they just start chewing on it. That's all you hear.
Yeah. That, if you watch my special on YouTube, it's that joke, get to laugh. They put a laugh in. It did not get that response. And hilariously and thankfully, there's so many comments that are like, that Foo Fighters line killed me. And I'm just like, thank you, smoking years of show business, because you saved that line. You saved that line for me.
Well, yeah, but it's just weird how different areas of how you say something, the semantics of it, how they take it, and it's so wild to me. Like I'll do innuendo jokes, and I'm doing one about like intimacy and husband and wife, and I say I'm like an old grizzled quarterback that just wants. I had a few good seasons, but now I'm like on injured reserve and I can't get in a game at all. I'm fighting against Dateline and some Viking show that she's interested in.
You're just trying to stay loose on the sideline.
Yeah, and that's part of the joke. I go, you got to hydrate. Nobody wants to see me go, oh God, cramp. But it's like that can be taken so many different ways. I've done that in some people. It's weird. Like some places they'll be right with you, and some people be looking at you like, I can't believe you're talking about that. And I'm like, I have said nothing dirty.
It's like very interesting how that works. It's very geographically, because sometimes you're like, maybe this week I'm delivering it different.
Right.
Or
am I talking too slow, too fast, too monotone?
I don't mean to pick on Little Rock, Arkansas. Because in general, people go like, especially Seattle, area where I live, it's a bit of an arrogant area, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
It's like, where were you last week? Little Rock. They're like, Little Rock. Whoa, did they get any of your jokes? And you're like, it's pretty much the same everywhere. Calm it down, But there are subtle, like I have a joke where I say, I'm talking about how I accidentally bought organic fruit.
Right.
And I say, by the way, that's an accident that rarely happens in the self-checkout. Yeah. And I sort of like let it sit there, let the crowd figure out I'm talking about just ringing up wherever you want.
Right. Because you said everything looks like a banana.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I swear, Little Rock, they laughed when I said the banana line, but I'm like, it rarely happens in the self. It's kind of a nod, wink, wink joke. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they were just like, huh?
Yeah.
Like it was like all week, that joke didn't get the anticipation laugh. It only got the laugh when I explained it. So it is a weird thing and it's funny, the dirty stuff, it's not dirty. What you said, but I'll have crowds, they sort of assume the dirtiest about you.
Right.
Where it's like a real PG-13 innuendo, and they're like, oh, and you're like, you guys don't understand what I'm saying, I don't think.
Yeah.
So it is weird to get, as you travel, you're like, what? Did I do it wrong? Are they weird?
In corporate, I did a lot of corporate shows this year, which are fun if you create, like, you can't just go, I feel like you can't go in and do material right away. You kind of have to look around the room, stay in there and watch people talk, watch tables, figure out who what is. And then I always address when I walk up, I'll go, I'm looking at this table of old people right now. They heard comedian. I can hear your butts tighten right now. Like, what's he about to say, Harold? And just to address it, like, I know what you're thinking. I'm not going to, I try and tell them, like, you're going to hear stuff about your life that's like my life. Just to try and let them know, like, calm, because it's a non-captive crowd. You have people that want to, like, what is he doing?
Yeah,
this idiot doing?
So, in front of their boss, they're like,
yeah, or worse, I've seen so many things happen in those corporate shows, dude, like drunk girlfriends or something like that.
Oh,
a girl and a coworker that's a girlfriend of a boy that they didn't like each other. I'm like, oh my God. And they're like, can you do the show? I'm like, what? No. Everybody knows what's going on.
That's weird because, like, again, well, at the Comedy Center in Las Vegas, I mean, there's plenty of like casino employees and stuff. If anyone gets too rowdy in the crowd, they're out. They just pull them out.
Yeah, right.
But like, and even at a comedy club, there's some sort of like, not that they all have security, but it's like there's some sort of like at some point someone will be like, you got to calm down. But a corporate gig with a crazy boyfriend of the receptionist, and you're like, what are we supposed to do? Tell him to shut the fuck up? We can't do that. It's a corporate gig. So you just got to roll with it. You just got to be like, okay,
And then they want you to keep going, like, go, keep going. I'm like, dude, nobody's not paying attention now. Everybody's turned around and looking at something else going on. And and the other thing though is sometimes you do play places like where you're at security. I mean, there's times where I've had shit happen and I'm like, I don't know what this crazy person's going to do. I'm looking at the security going, okay, I'm a 2-stripe blue belt in jiu-jitsu. I think I can handle maybe one person and I get to pick them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're looking around at the other people that are on the staff, and you're like, that kid ain't doing shit, you know. And you're just like, what happens if something happens? I worry about that shit sometimes. It crosses my mind, and it never used to. But as I've gotten older, I think about that shit on stage. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but I'm also not. Sure. I don't try to invoke anything on anybody.
No.
But sometimes you don't know how people take shit and go.
Yeah, berserker. They miss. I mean, this is forever ago, and it was more comical than dangerous. But like, I remember this is decades ago, but a woman threw a fork at me, but I think I was doing a joke about a chihuahua or something, or a dog. It was like a dog joke.
Was there a ringtone, that Sarah McLachlan song?
In the arms, she pulls the fork out. It wasn't even on the table. It was like in her. She has a fork holster.
Yeah. Go on though. Keep going. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, but it was just funny. She was like, she said something like, "You shouldn't say that," and just like threw a fork at me. It didn't hit me or anything. But it's like, again, it was like if I was telling you a story about how a woman threw a fork at me, your first reaction might be like, well, what did you say to her? How heated did it get? And it's like, no, I was doing a joke about pit bulls or whatever. You know, so it people just get drunk and stoned and confused and any of the other drugs. You know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy.
Easily some of the worst times I've had is when you're doing, like if I'm doing a hypnosis show and I have to worry about, is this person going to go too far and piss the person off that's with them in the crowd? Because that happens. I had somebody leave in Tulsa. A person left because their boyfriend was on stage, left. And I'm like, dude, I'll get you a cab. And then I'm like, well, wait, where do you live? Because I didn't know if he lived he's one of those guys that drives way in. And she left. And I was like, holy shit. I think I paid his bar tab. But like, you don't know what's in the crowd if there's somebody like that. Like I didn't want to come to this. Now they're just a group of people. And that person just might get pissed and yell at you.
No, it's true.
You worry about that for sure. What's your favorite area of the country? And then I'm not saying to single out like, oh, I really like here, but I guess what I'm saying is we hit the same places so many times, and you can only do so much stuff, and it becomes like people are like, yo, you're going to Vegas, you're probably going around every day. If you've went out 3 times since Monday, I'd be surprised.
Twice.
Okay, yeah, because you just go like, that is a long way to walk. I've seen this all before. It to you is work. You're at work. So I guess like there's areas that I like of the country that I know if I go there, like, oh, I can find something to do. Where are those places like for you? Like,
you know what I really
aside from home.
Yeah, what I really like is like I think the end of March I'm in Tucson, and I like, especially if it's wintry times.
Yeah.
So totally. Like I need that wet. I mean, Vegas is it's not actually, it actually snowed here yesterday. People were freaking out, but they're like, it's the end time.
Yeah. That's so they're just throwing money in the casinos like, yes, it is. Come on in.
Yeah, exactly.
Take a chance.
Might as well put it all on black.
Yeah. Holy shit. Can you imagine?
But yeah, it's really nice to like leave the gloomy, rainy Pacific Northwest and go to like a beautiful, you know, because in summer, Tucson would be, or Phoenix is going to be 110. But like when it's like 80 or 90 and I'm leaving 50 and wet, it's like, this is amazing. This is amazing. Yeah,
you're leaving the house like, God, I don't want to go.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
you see my swim trunks.
I bet their hot tub's not even that good.
I'm just going to try and work out a couple days.
Oh, the happiest I feel is if the hotel's like, our gym's closed. I'm like, thank God.
Oh, yeah.
Thank God.
Right.
That's a relief.
You don't have to walk by looking at everybody on your way to the vending machines. I feel that way. Walking by with Taco Bell bag.
I've had this discussion, and I I'm not a political comic. I'm not even that political of a person. I mean, I'm not hiding anything. I'm probably on the moderate side of liberal, I suppose.
Right.
But I think a blue city and a red state is really fun.
That's where I live,
That
Iowa.
it's fun. I think, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a Louisville, Kentucky.
You get city and rural, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'd realize I had this
Or at
pointed
least the
out.
cultures. You might not
Yes.
get but you get the culture.
But
clash
it's like
a
this
little bit.
mix also.
Mhm.
But I've also,
El Paso's that way.
I think the other way is kind of true too, where a red city and a blue state is kind of fun. It's like
Yeah.
that. It's like because Spokane, Washington is a blast, and
Yeah.
it's like that. It would be the red. I mean, there's like a lot of states, it's divided up geographically, rural and all that. But it's like a pretty big red city.
Right. Right.
And obviously Seattle, very liberal. So it's weird. It's that combination of like because they're not going to be that politically correct if you're a blue city in a red state, because 15 minutes outside of town is all whatever, farmers and rednecks and stuff. So I do kind of enjoy, but I also have an act that it's like, you probably get this comment too. People will say stuff like, "Can you even do comedy anymore? Al, what's it like out there?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "It's fine. What are you talking about? It's fine. No one."
Yeah. If you bring up stuff that's controversial, you're going to get what you receive.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're asking for a response in a way that it's almost like if you stick your hand in a flame, you're going to get burned.
Yeah.
And if you go to that arena, you're going to get what you're asking for. And I did a show up here by where I live, and it's like walking distance, and me and my wife were walking up, and I opened the show with this because my wife was like, "What are you going to talk about up there?" And I'm thinking, like, I've worked on this for a year around the house with people and conversations,
Right.
and she goes, "You're not going to get political, are you?" And I'm like, I literally looked at her. I would rather fart the alphabet into the microphone than try and do political stuff in the world we live in. And I was never really political. Anyways, I do have my beliefs.
Sure.
And I did air them for a while. And then my wife was like, "You're going to get conked over the head at some club, and that I started thinking like, holy shit, if I do piss somebody off, so I just shaved all of it away, quit it completely. And I wasn't doing it on stage, but I was doing it in the comfort, like a keyboard warrior, type thing.
Yeah, understandable.
But I was putting my face on it by making videos and
Yeah.
this, and under a character, I wore these teeth, as a matter of fact. I'm like, "Hello, I'm Spalding Pemberton, and this is of the news." That's what I would do. And then I'd act like I was at this political event, and my wife's like, "You're going to get your ass kicked is what's going to happen. You're going to have to wear teeth like that."
Well,
you're going to get kicked out.
Someone with those actual teeth is going to punch you.
"I don't like the way you've been talking about me at all." Yeah, no.
Well,
so.
it's interesting because, I try to be pretty universal. I don't have a burning desire to make points.
Mhm.
And that is certainly, like even Vegas, there's a lot of comedians who would not, there's a lot of really successful, amazing comedians who are not good for Vegas because it's it's people on vacation who are drunk. They don't necessarily want to hear about your feelings or your political thoughts.
Right.
Or,
and talk about a mix. I mean, that's like you've salt and peppered shakered every political view from the country and dropped it right there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I'm sort of built for that. I'm sort of built for that. But it's interesting because there is something to be said. Like you're saying, you stopped doing that character or whatever. It's like another avenue is to piss 2 out of 3 people off, but 1 out of 3 goes, that's my guy.
I know, and I know it's such a fine line,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I don't have it in me. I don't have it in me to do that, but I have definitely seen comics really lean in.
Oh yeah, I know.
And,
We can name a few that we both know, and it's worked for them.
yeah.
But then I think, gosh, how does that feel though? Because like I'd be scared on some in instances. I'd be nervous if somebody really wanted to prove a point to me. I
Yeah.
don't want any of that part of my life. I don't want to be looking over my shoulder thinking some crazy or somebody that's just upset.
No, I know that the whole making controversy is good for your career kind of thing. It's like it might be, but I just don't have it in me. I don't have it in me.
No,
I mean, even the comments I get on my non-controversial material are hard enough, and I have many women comedian friends. Their comments are brutal, absolutely brutal. But it's
about what? About what? Like, what about you? I don't. Is there bad shit that you're doing? I guess I don't see it. That's the dumbness of me being like, I think we get numb to what the world sees because Dan Chopin last week said, my wife's a civilian. She doesn't get it. And I thought, that is brilliant.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because my comments are overwhelmingly positive, but I just mean any day, I don't even try to read all of them, but any day I can go and read how ugly I am. Oh, you know what I mean? Like any of those things. And it's like, and it's just like,
God.
It's interesting because also I'm looking at it right now in the thing and it's like, I learned from the comments, but my beard wasn't even. They're like,
oh God,
they're
I
like,
worry about that on sideburns.
They're like, bro, shave your beard. Why is your right side way? I'm like, son of a bitch, they're right. They're right.
On this side, you're Wolfman at the circus, and this side, you're Tim Curry from the movie where Amy touch the ape movie.
I look like my beard had a stroke. So
not that there's anything wrong with that.
No. But so it's like it's interesting that like it's that level of like I'm just putting out jokes about whatever, my family or drinking or just dumb non-controversial topics.
Right.
And
to entertain others.
And the level of comments sometimes I don't like so I can't even imagine if I was like really wanted to delve into like political stuff and just have people hate you and send you death threats and I have one of my jokes on actually it was on the DryBar is about how I'm the assistant manager of my family.
Yeah, that's a great joke. It's I was watching it going, that's brilliant.
It's very people really that's probably in my 22 years of jokes, that's like top 10 of ones that really resonated with people.
Yeah.
And
it's beautiful.
But I put it on TikTok on a day when hashtag, what was it called? Oh man, now it's
I'm
like
not going anywhere with you in a lightning storm.
It's like
sounds like
it's like weaponized incompetence. Hashtag weaponized incompetence. Because the joke is basically like my wife runs shit. I do my best. I'm the assistant manager. I'm not great with details. And it's just like, oh, that's really funny that you don't help your wife at all. And weaponized it. And I was like, it's TikTok. Oh, you guys are probably 17. You're not married. It's like.
One of those ladies that comments has one of those videos where she goes, click, click, boom, and she's in a swimsuit. She went from the sweater to their comment. And you're like, what do you weaponize?
Weaponized incompetence. So that's what I mean. Like a sort of cute joke about how my wife is a fucking badass, basically.
Right.
Is like somewhat controversial, not overall, but a little bit. And so I'm like, I can't imagine being like, here's the thing about Joe Biden and Trump. I don't want any part of that. I want no part of that, man.
Well, not only that, I also look at it this way. Somebody asked me once why I didn't do it. I go, because the night show people, the late show people, they have a team of writers writing
they got all of
the
it.
best in the world. And
yeah.
if leave it to them. If people want, everybody, I think, for one, I'm tired of all of it. I mean,
of course.
Shit. I just want it to be done and over because I feel like it's so divided that you have to worry about, am I going to say something that's offensive? And I don't even have any of that. I'm mainly like you. I'm full family stuff. If it happens to me, I'm guessing it's happened to at least out of
Sure.
5 people, maybe 2. And if those 2 people laugh hard, the other people are going to go, God, I see that.
Yeah.
So, and I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's, and what you said, like the ending of your joke is what brings it all together. That's brilliant. The fact that you're sleeping with her.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's what ties it. And you go, because I didn't see that coming. And then you threw that in there. I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
You know?
The only reason I get to be assistant manager is I am sleeping with the manager. Yeah.
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 And,
It's interesting to like. That's also like it's only been in the last less than 5 years that like anyone has watched anything. Most of the stuff I put online before that was people who already knew me.
right.
And so when it's like on Facebook or whatever, and it just shows up, they don't know who I am. It just shows up, or TikTok or Insta. Then it's a whole different thing. It's not just people who already like you. They're like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah. But,
You know?
but I think the thing is, though, I think you get way more love than you would hate because
I do.
You're in your likability, but I don't think people get to, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you have your premise that you're going into, and I think you write a lot, and I think you're prolific on what you write. But I think there's a lot of, you go off book a lot. Am I wrong there? I feel like when somebody reacts, your ability to go after, and it's like you almost like put it in a web and just start weaving jokes. Dude, it's pretty impressive.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I definitely will do some crowd work, and then after the crowd work, weave what they have said into my jokes and stuff like that. It's interesting, though. I wonder your opinion on this because there's like crowd work TikTok stars and Instagram stars now. There's like people who are selling out clubs and theaters because
unreal.
They put up all these crowd work videos. And I do too. I put them up too. That was sort of the reason I started doing it is I go, this guy's got, I'm like, I can do crowd work.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what? But it is a little bit bad for our business, right? A little bit.
I think it's almost like disco to me. Like it came on really strong and everybody was like disco, disco, disco. And or almost like hair metal bands. It was like that for a while, and then all of a sudden reality came back in and went, "Hey, what are we doing here?" And I almost think it's like that because you know what you said resonates with me because I've opened for a few of these like TikTok stars. And I know how hard it was for me to get in those clubs to just feature. And sometimes I'll headline those clubs and now I'm doing 15 minutes in front of them.
Yeah.
And on the way to one of them, the Funny Bone called me and I said, hey, what do I need to do for material and how long? Because, you know, I'm trying to figure out. This is a woman who has I don't know anything about her. I went and watched some of her stuff and it's very like womanized a little bit. And I'm not saying that in the wrong way. But they said, well, I just found out they want a woman opener. And I'm like, okay. And they go, but she said you can just go ahead and do it. And now all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, what am I walking into? I am going to MC and do 20 minutes of time. And I mean, dude, I felt like I just had rolled jujitsu for 45 minutes straight. I was just like, I was sick, instantly sick to my stomach. And I got there and this girl's in the back and she's got a plate for food, you know, and I'm like, I've never got any of this, you know. I remember once after like my 4th beer, they're like, hey, you're going to have to pay for those. And I'm like, what? You know?
Yeah.
And this person got like a spread of food. I never got food there. And I'm standing there with her. I introduced myself and you could tell she was kind of weird that I was going to be the opener. And I said, you look stressed. And she goes, because I thought it was about me. So I was trying to clear the air right away. Like, hey, look, I'm just as stressed as you are. And she goes, oh, I'm super nervous. And I said, why is that? And she says, well, all these people are here to see me. It was a sold out show on a Friday night. And I said, you're nervous. They just told me you want a woman opener. And I got to walk out in front of everybody that came here and is cheering for you. And we haven't even started. And she goes, yeah. And I go, she goes, I've been getting, like, she had like a upset stomach about it. And I thought, oh my God, I've slept in my car on an 8-hour drive in a snowstorm trying to get back home. You got flown in here by, like, she had an agent like CAA, and I'm like, holy.
Yeah.
Then she told me what she did, and during the pandemic, she just started talking on TikTok on a teeny little microphone, and it just blew up. She's making like $1 million a year.
Yeah.
And I just look at that and go, I've been doing this Billy Salinger character with the big glasses for years, dude. Back when you had this camera, I filmed it all on this camera.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, how? What was the difference? It's like a lottery ticket almost. I mean, it's just those guys like yourself that can blow any part of the country away for the whole 60 minutes. Don't need any openers, don't need anything. No fluff. You put you in front of people that never met you before, you're going to crush. And there's a lot of us that are on the road doing stuff like this. And then you see that, and it does hurt. I mean,
yeah, it does.
And I get it.
It does. Yeah, I get it because it was sold out. So why wouldn't the club book her?
1,000%.
They got bills, man. They got Coors Light buckets to sell. I totally get that.
Yeah,
but it
keeps it open for us. I mean,
it's an interesting thing because a lot of times it's that particular person may never be back to that club. Like it will be a different TikTok person or a different YouTube person. So it does kind of, it's still around, but like the system we came up in is really, it's not gone, but it's in shambles. It's like the idea of like, if I get good enough, I'll get to host. If I do good enough at that, I'll get to middle. If I get good enough, they're just going to have to headline me.
Yeah.
It exists, but it exists much less than it used to because most clubs are putting in someone who can sell tickets every single weekend. And it used to be like once a month or once every 6 weeks. Yeah. And then the other times would just be like people who had somewhat of a draw, but not like a very famous person. And so that whole business model has changed. And if you're coming up now, if you start comedy now, you don't think in terms of like, I'm going to get plugged into all these clubs around the country and make a road comic life. You think in terms of like, when I get big enough on TikTok or Instagram, then I will do my own thing in all these cities. And it's just a different model now. The problem is, if I can be an old man for a little bit, is in our system, it made you really good at stand-up comedy. Mm-hmm. It made you, there are a million shortcuts for popularity. They're not easy, but there's a million ways to like, to advance yourself social media wise or whatever wise or management wise or agent wise. There's still no shortcuts to getting good at stand-up comedy. You still have to do it a million times, rinse and repeat, do it again. And there's not like, and so sometimes if I'm at a show, even this weekend, which the way the Comedy Cellar does it, it's they run it like it's in New York, so it's like a host and then 4 comics doing 15-minute sets.
Okay. Yeah, right on.
And it's people come up after the show and they go like, if they're being, sometimes if I'm getting compliments, it's like, oh, I can't believe I never heard of you or that kind of stuff,
That's the worst feeling.
But it's also like, they're like, how long you been doing this? I'm like, 22 years. Oh. And they're like, geez, they're like, and the thing of it is like, it's like, whatever has happened, I've been doing 200 shows a year for 20 years or something. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's like when you were writing a script, I've done other things too. I've written books and all that, but it's like when you were writing a script or you were going to a meeting or you were doing this, I was just doing 200 shows a year. And so when it gets to be like my turn to do a show with that person who has a million other projects and a million other things and a million other social media things happening, it's like, yeah, I tend to be better than them because this is all I've done. I dedicated my entire life to getting good at performing stand-up comedy. And so it's like, yeah, I should be better than your favorite TikTok star.
It's,
And,
1,000%, because you saw every pitch. It's like you've weaved your way through every pitfall. You know how to gain an audience when you lose them, when you get them back, and that is like it's a boxing match. It's a fucking boxing match a lot of nights.
Yeah,
and you know that if you're doing this and you miss there and you got it, but you don't have anybody in your ear, you can't take a break. And I've told people before, our line of work, you can go to work 3 days of those weeks at your day job and maybe not do great. If I do one in that week, they remember that one.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it don't matter if you got 2 standing ovations, they remember that one. And like, you have to worry about that. You always have to be up, and so yeah, you are better because you know how to wear it and you know how to get it back because you don't want to feel like shit. And also the whole thing, all I've ever done is wanted to be good on stage that night or whatever. And it, like, even here at the Cellar, there's people who are like, they're getting ready for other things or they're like working on new material. And it's like, I will not be doing any new material this entire week because it's my first time here. And it's like, look, maybe if I'm still working here years from now, I would feel comfortable doing that. But it's like my first time in, I was like, no one is paying me to write new material. Right. Yeah, give them the hits.
Yeah. It's like I'm going to do well so I can come back. And you know what I mean? It's like, so it is.
Well, it's the playoffs. It's like, it's playoffs. It's like, I didn't mean to go there. Playoffs. We thought who they thought they'd be. What I mean by that is you don't, a quarterback doesn't go into the Super Bowl and go, okay, guys, let's run some new plays that we've never ran. Let's try this. Yeah. And it's our first time here in the Super Bowl. All these people are counting on us. You're just like, I'm playing the old hits.
But yeah, it's interesting to see, like, some of the people at the Cellar in New York where I've been also, it's like, they're just, it's so much their home club that they're literally like just reading out of a notebook.
Yeah.
What else? What was my other idea? And it's like, they're allowed to do that. The club wants them to do that. It's their home spot. I understand all of that. And then, but after the show, if someone says to me like, oh, you were so much funnier than they were. And I'm like, I wouldn't have been if I was reading out of my fucking notebook.
Yeah, you don't want to read my notebook. No, like, what is this?
I brought you 15 minutes polished stuff from years of road work, and you're like, that was a lot better than that guy who was saying those words for the first time ever.
Yeah, you're presenting a ring, and that person's just starting to hammer on the rock to get the jewel out.
Yeah,
you're sliding up like, here you go.
Yeah, exactly. So it is. But
don't sell yourself short, though, because even that, like, to go up and whoever you're following, if they're doing good, great, whatever, you still have to go out there and do it. I mean, and the reason why you have that material is because it's tried and true. To get back to the story of when these people are going out and trying to do an hour sometimes in front of people. And I will give this lady credit. She was very good. And she was polished, and she kept the crowd going the whole time, and they loved her. They absolutely loved her. And I was impressed by it because I thought, okay, let's see what happens here. And they actually gave me a very warm reception. Because sometimes those stars, their fans don't know stand-up comedy, and sometimes they're like, oh, I feel like I did a college, like 30 minutes out of college in April, dude. I've never felt so far away from I thought, my daughter's your guys' age, and I couldn't be telling her this shit. Because everybody just looked at me like an algebra problem. Like I was going, okay, if we look here on the board.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like, man. I was so out of place. I was just up there swallowing hard every 5 minutes.
I got a college agent, I think it's 2019. They quit almost immediately. But like I did like one conference.
Nobody's heard from him since.
No. We all agreed it was a bad idea. But it was like, so how old was I in 2019 or what? I don't know. Probably.
Well,
yeah.
I'm 49, so you'd have been 46, 47.
I was probably, I'm 49 also, actually.
Yeah.
So, so it was like, hey, do you want a college agent? And I'm like, at 46?
Oh my God.
Now?
Yeah. I still have debt. I don't know. Are you a creditor?
Yeah.
It's a creditor disguised as a booking agent. Hey, Gabriel.
Have you ever done one of those conferences? It wasn't NACA, it was like APCA or something.
I have, but I did hypnosis there. So that was different.
Oh, interesting.
So hypnosis which is getting harder to keep them entertained. You have to be very because of TikTok and YouTube and shit like that. But yes, I have. And the night I did mine, they had the kegger for the upperclassmen, which were all the buyers.
Oh,
so I
okay.
had all the underclassmen like, that guy was really good. And like, yeah, whatever. You don't know what you're talking about, the next day. So that sucked.
That was amazing. That part of it was amazing to me too, because it was like, oh, these are like 19-year-olds who are too dorky to get invited to the party are in charge of all these decisions. I'm like, oh, this is like, they're like making or breaking people's years at this conference. Yeah. And they're just like, I walked, I know we've gone really long, but I walked. We're great, dude. Well, we'll run it to like in 90 minutes. So we got 20 minutes. So keep fucking talking. I walked past, it's weird. Performing for crowds that young is hard anyway, because they sort of like, I watched a lot of performers before me. Also, it was like a weird, almost youth group vibe, because it was like people would sing a song, and then everyone had been coached.
Yeah,
that you're supposed to tell a personal story or something. So they play a song, and then they'd be like, a couple of years ago, I was really struggling with depression, and music really helped me get through. If you're struggling, please reach out to your friends. And then it would be like, now I'm going to play a Lizzo cover on acoustic guitar or whatever. You know? And it was like, everyone was doing this. Every performer, every poet was like, I was depressed, or it was like a weird, and it was like.
Pandering?
What's that?
Pandering a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. Not to take away, maybe they really did struggle with that, but I was
right.
I'm not, as a comedian, I'm not going to be like, I really struggled with depression. And
yeah.
Anyway,
and you really do probably at times. I know I do.
Anyway, I'm the assistant manager.
And I'm not saying they don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only because I'm sleeping with the.
Oh. Well, it's funny because everyone.
Then he comes out playing, I wish you would step up from the ledge, my friend. That kid comes back out.
Yeah, they help me out.
A big hook comes out and pulls you off like the Muppet Show.
There was one backstage. There was one guy who seemed to be like kind of my age, and I was almost like went next to him like, "Hey, how's it going? What's up? I have a kid this age too, And then I realized he was there because his daughter was a performer. He brought his daughter to do like a. But this was quite hilarious.
I own the building, sir. Who are you? Security.
Well, have you ever struggled with depression? If you So this wasn't my showcase. I just watched a different showcase, and then I'm walking through the hallways, and there's like a little gaggle of students, and really just got liked who they want to bring to their school, and this is they go, well, this is when I walked past. Well, what's more diverse, a white woman or a Cuban man? And I had just watched the showcase where a white woman and a Cuban man had performed. Jose Sardui, by the way, is very funny. And I was just like, walking by, and I was like, And then I hadn't even performed yet. And I'm like, oh, I'm not booking anything.
You,
I ended up booking one show. I did get one show out of it, but it was like, I'm not in this conversation. I'm not a white woman or a Cuban man.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
no. Yes, I do know what you mean. Now to say no, you are not. You all of a sudden you come out in a bullfighter outfit.
it was pretty old.
Yeah, who was it that used to do that joke? Greg Giraldo had a joke like that. He said, "I don't wear bullfighter out. I'm like, I don't get mad when I wear bullfighter outfit." That was a great joke.
Yeah.
So now that we're talking about new material, have you ever had a premise, or I don't know why I just did that. I brought it in like. You ever had a premise or a joke that you rode for a long time, and it just never it landed like Evel Knievel all the time, or sometimes you'd get like the wobbles on it halfway through it, and you're like, I think I got it, and then it just never did. You ever have one of those? What?
Yes, I don't tend to do them very long.
Yeah,
I definitely. The hardest ones are 1 out of 3 nights. It's like an applause break, and then the other 2, it's like not like 0, but like very tepid response. So you
hard to go on to the next thing.
You're chasing that applause break. You're like, but it killed 2 nights ago.
Or the early show.
Yeah, or the early show. Yeah, and I have definitely had jokes that honestly, some of the jokes that I end up letting go that kind of work even though on DryBar I was a clean comic. I'm not like really that clean of a comic, but
yours are innuendo though.
Yeah, there's certain jokes that I realize late show Friday maybe, but in general people don't want me to be this dirty. It's like that. It just doesn't match the rest of my character.
Yeah. Plus, when you early in the show say you look like a youth pastor, it's gonna get.
True. Yeah, that's true too. It is this weird. Yeah. So I have had a couple of jokes over the years where I'm like, I like that joke. I think it's funny. It works sometimes, but it doesn't quite match the rest of I don't know. The older I get, the more dumb, the more like I love like just a stupid line that shouldn't work that does, where for some reason that makes me happy at this point more than pushing the boundaries,
Yeah. Well, it's not. I think as I've gotten older and the more I've done it, the more I've started to realize, like, if I just listen to the world as I sit here, I can. It's like you do your joke about bird watching, which I've started doing. I don't know if you've seen some of my photos lately. I really got into it. And all I kept thinking every time that shutter clicked was, oh my God, he's right. I'm looking at ducks, looking for otters and shit. But where was I going with that? What was I talking about before we got to the bird watching? I've slowed down. And I've started to let the world simmer around me rather than search for material. I've almost like came to a realization, like if I just listen to what is going on, I can find a way to talk about this somehow. Like the other day on a plane, dude, I took my headphones off as we got on and I just listened to people walk by and just all their shit that was going on. This one guy, it was probably 9 a.m. and I swear to God, the guy was hammered because he's like, I'm just trying to find the side that's got the C rows in it. Where's the C? And I was like, holy shit. How'd this guy make it? I mean, it was like, and I'm just thinking like, what the hell? And then on the plane, dude, the pilot comes on. He's like, I have audio of it. I just played it for my wife last night. I made this like content of me going to Texas. And the guy's like, guys, we can't get the air thing to start. I don't know if it's cold or it's something or if it's just froze. We don't know. And the thing that starts, it's not available. So they said to run it let it cool 25 minutes. So we're going to have to sit and wait. And he got off and I'm like, what the hell was that? I mean, it's the air thing that's flowing the air. We're sitting in there and everybody can clearly smell exhaust, because you can smell it every once in a while. And then he'd start it and go. Then you get back on, folks, we're going to have to wait for another. And I'm just sitting there going, this is a joke somehow, some way. Because this is, but have somebody done it before? And that's what you start to think. But like in your, like when you see the world now, do you sit down and write, or do you go? Yeah. Did you ever sit down and write?
In the beginning, and I will still, if I have an idea, sometimes, and it's more than I can remember, I'll sit down and write. But for the most part, I put a little note in my phone.
Yeah.
That says something, and then I think about it, and I think I know what the punchline is or whatever. But I found that my performing instincts are better than my writing instincts.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like on stage, for the most part, I'll come up with a better idea of how to get into the joke or out of the joke than I would off stage.
Writing it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I also, I video a lot of shows, but just the audio of my shows. And so I listen back. I don't listen to every show, but like if it's a new joke that worked, I'm like, what did I do? What did I say that worked?
For sure.
Or the opposite. If it doesn't work, I'm like, what went wrong? And so I kind of hammer it out that way. And but no, I don't. Look, if like I'm taping a special in July, like not DryBar, just, and if for some reason that when that comes out, there's no reason to think this will happen. But let's say it was like a Netflix special or something, and it's like there are comedians who are at a point in their fame level that they put out a special. They never touch that material ever again. It's a total start over. That sounds, look, I've been making a new album every 3 years or so. So it's not like I'm not writing, but that idea of a 100% start over, it's kind of scary to me.
Oh yeah.
But so like if that happened, I probably would be writing things. I probably would be like, on my laptop, just thinking of like, I'd be in my hotel room, like, what's funny about lamps?
Yeah. I just tried to do that last night. I was sitting there writing stuff about, like, I watched some of your special. I went back and looked at some of your stuff, and I started writing down stuff, and then I just started going like, I don't want to write. I like to just talk. I don't even know where that notebook is right now. It's probably out on the couch.
Yeah, I know. I know. It is.
Because you start to, like, if I write out a set, I wrote one out when I was with Kevin Nealon last week. I had 3 things written down, and that was it.
Yeah.
I wrote the first 3 things I was going to talk about, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't sometimes have no clue. I know I have to be clean for 30 minutes.
Right.
And be a rah guy, and I'm just going to go out there and just... And like while I was out there, I missed jokes, came back. But do you kind of work that way? Or you kind of like, do you have the playlist set out? Like, how do you feel on stage with that?
I do have a playlist set out, but there's certain
corridors.
Yeah, it's like if I do this joke, I kind of know the next 2. I have to keep track of, like, because I have a lot of callbacks, so it's like, oh, I didn't do the first joke, so I can't do the callback. I gotta remember. I gotta keep track of all that. But then eventually, as like time goes on, it's like I realize, oh, like as you write, if I have a new 2 minutes, that means 2 minutes has got to go.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of like this, not forever, but in general. And so it is.
You're going to turn that 2 minutes into 5 to 6 minutes sometimes.
Hopefully. And, and that's the thing about it. I have jokes that are, I'm not even going to put a year on it, but years and years old that are that have gotten better in the last month.
You rewrite them
because a new idea, a new tangent, a new callback, a new tag, and so it's like that's why all these famous people who are cranking out a special every 2 years. I mean, I'm sure they get millions of dollars every time they do it, and I understand that, but it's also like, man, you're leaving a lot of meat on the bone by cranking stuff out that fast. And I understand that's sort of the world they're in. I understand that, but it is like, it's a lot, man. It's to do, some people are doing like an hour a year.
Some of them are doing like, I think every 6 months.
It's insane.
I wonder if they have writers, or I've never really sat down and watched any of them to be able to say like one way or the other, but I just can't imagine, because there's stuff that I started working on really I started working on a new hour in 2020, and I was trying to get rid of all my old stuff, but then I just kind of redid some of the old stuff into a whole new section of new stuff, and it turned into other things. But man, and I think I have it really crisp right now. You know, I think like I can fire no matter where I start, how I start. I know I can get all of it in there in that time frame. It doesn't matter where it's placed. It's like a 8-track. I could push program 4 and program 2 next. I don't have to go down the line.
Well, it's also interesting because, like, you know, if I write a new joke and then I realize, well, I had a joke 8 years ago, that would go really well with this new joke. I just do it because it's like there's no. People don't remember the joke from 8 years ago, first of all, and so it's like there's some freedom in not being famous. There's some freedom in not, you know what I mean? It's like you can really do what's best for your act instead of what's best for just constantly trying to crank out new material. And you notice there's some really, really successful comedians who literally just go to the crowd now. What do you guys want to talk about? Because they want that content. They want, if people will yell out, whatever, Chinese spy balloon, and then they say a line about it.
Yeah.
Content. And it's like, I'm sure they make it funny. And I have occasionally said that myself when a show goes off the rails, audience interaction wise, I'll be like, oh, fine, I brought jokes, but what do you guys want to talk about? You know?
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting to, like, if you paid $60, $80, $100 to go see someone in the theater, they do 30 minutes of jokes and then they go like, yell shit out. I'm kind of like, is that?
Well, can you imagine if it was a band and they were saying, hey, what song you want to, let's play Tesla or whatever, like, and guys over there going plank, plank, clanking through it.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to watch that guy looking at the drummer going, dude, it's a double beat on the 4 mark. And the guy's going, fuck, I don't know, dude.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's like the equivalent of that, really, and some guys are fantastic at it. And some guys I can see sometimes, and I'm sure you can, when you're watching somebody on stage, if they're a comic, you can tell if they are feeling it. Do you feel like you can?
Yeah.
If you watch their normal body language and then you're reading it right now, it's like Joe Rogan announcing a boxing match. He can tell that guy's about done before any of us can.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. And it's also funny because, like, I mean, I put a crowd work clips up too, and it's always like, but the people who are like really famous for it, it's like, oh man,
but they're not paying $60 to see you.
No, they're not.
You know what I mean?
But it's also like, they'll be like, oh, whatever, you're so funny with the crowd, and it's like, I don't put up the ones that don't go well.
Yeah, I have.
Sometimes it's funny too.
I like those sometimes. Like, they're so drunk, and I'm going like, "What are you even saying?"
Yeah,
because those build you as, like, that's the one thing with hypnosis for me is it made me into, I can do anything on spur of the moment because it's an improv show up there. It's a play. And I don't know how they're going to react. I have to be like wicked going, okay, if they say this, I got to think of something to say. And the weirdest things it's made me better at reacting to things. Like if I'm hosting or whatever, it doesn't mean I want to get heckled, but it did make me quicker on my feet for those reasons. But I've also been, every time I bring people on stage, I have 30 people that are going to pitch me stuff. You know, so I got to figure out how to, or however many is up there, I got to figure out how to react. I know the dance, but I don't know what they're going to say, you know?
Yeah.
And if you go into the crowd, it's the same way with you. You have to be, it's a scary thing to do, but it's also I think it's so funny when people are really great at it, you know, like, there's guys like, that's what I said about you, is your ability to encompass what they said and then bring it up later. Because, God, you had one the other day I watched, and I can't remember, but you brought it up. Was it the thing in Little Rock, lesbian?
Probably, yeah. I got that one off the rails for sure.
Yeah, but that's what was funny about it, is how you handled it. Like, what would some people do? What would the average person do if that started happening to them? It's like, can somebody get security and get them out? But you took it and went and just kept like a speed bag. You know, you're like going, okay, I know my pocket.
I'll definitely run with it. I don't mind that at all. And even this week at the Comedy Cellar, like, you know, the 15-minute sets is odd for me. You know what I mean? It's not a normal amount of time. So it's like,
you don't feel like they get to know you.
The first couple of sets, and I go pretty fast. I have a pretty quick pace. But my first few sets, I realized, because I was just thinking, I was just like sprinting through it. I was still doing well, but it was like, I was in my brain, I was like rushed. Like, I only got 15 minutes. I got to do this bit in so I can do this next bit. And then like
you were shoving clown glasses into a regular sunglass holder.
And then Tuesday, I'm like, I gotta just chill the fuck out. You know what I mean? It's like, I gotta do my 15 minutes. Yeah. It's like, when the time's up, the time's up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not.
Take your foot off on the pedal, or take your foot off on the gas in the turns, Cole.
I'm not in a comedy competition. I'm just doing 15 minutes. You know what I mean? And it's just, and if something comes up in the crowd, it's like, I will riff on it or whatever. And it's like, there is that. And like some of the crowd work is like, I tend to not instigate it until they do. The exception to that would be, like, if there's 5 shows at a club and I'm doing like 45 to an hour, by the fifth show, I'm feeling pretty loose. And so I'm I'm less married to the act, and I'm like, you got a weird shirt. What's your deal? You know?
Yeah, right. Dude, it's like if you ever drove drunk and you've made it through all everybody in the car trying to grab the wheel, you've made it there, and now you're on your street and you see your driveway. That 5th show, you're like, oh God, yes. You've rung. I mean, it's like, I don't have to worry about tomorrow. I am out of here. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah,
you're honking a clown horn every once in a while, to somebody's face. My nuts.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, if the crowd says something, you're happy for the distraction. Good. I didn't want to do that joke anyway. What are you guys talking about?
Here, hold my beer while I address something.
Yeah, exactly. Are there any lesbians here? I would love to chat.
Oh my God. So you get to that point. Have you had this yet? Have you ever been on stage and thought, man, I just want to be done right now? Not with career. I mean, just like with that show that you remember.
Yeah, I would say like some corporate gigs that are not going well.
Yeah.
I have had that feeling. Now, at a club, sometimes I will have that feeling all day until
you hit the stage.
Until I hit the stage. And then I'm like, yeah, I was born for this shit. You know what I mean? It's like, it really is like, and I still, it means more to me now than it did 22 years ago. It's like, again, the highs aren't as high, the lows aren't as low, because it's unsustainable to do this many shows and like do that. But it's like, I still greatly give a shit about stand-up comedy. And that was my biggest fear when I was a younger comic, because I would see, you'd see these old, burnt out road hacks that had the same hour since 85 or whatever. They're trying to wedge their Monica Lewinsky joke in, you know, and whatever.
And telling you not to do a joke in front of them.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, I don't, look, sure, I have some jaded, bitter moments and all that, but it's like, I still care about the best feeling in comedy is still a new joke that works. The worst feeling is still an old joke that doesn't.
Yeah.
And it never changes, and I still I get such a thrill out of the absurdity of. Doug, I'm in Las Vegas right now. I
know.
It's insane. I'm at the Comedy Cellar. It's
Yeah.
and even if it's not that, even if it's a winery in 2 hours from my house, it's still like it's such a incredible loophole in adulthood to like be silly professionally. And
oh my God, dude! Keep going. I'm not.
And then look, there's a lot of things I still want to have happen. You know what I mean? I would love for I tape a special. I hope it goes viral or it gets on a thing and all that stuff. It's not like I'm done making things. It's not like I'm done writing jokes. But I also like now that I'm pushing 50, it's like you start comedy for very selfish reasons. You start comedy because whatever. You want the attention. There's the ego. Most of us have a little hole inside of us we're trying to fill from past whatever.
Yep.
But as I continue to do this, the compliments that I dismissed the first 10 years I did comedy mean the most to me now. People will come up after a show and be like, I went to my mom's funeral 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I laughed my ass off. I really needed this. It's people I know, acquaintances of mine, friends of mine who have died. And then I think when you add up their life, the times they saw me, that's a couple of hours in the good part of their life.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me? This is like, it's a calling, man. It's a calling.
Yeah. And like I end my shows by telling people I've been doing this. I started doing it right before the pandemic hit. And it was because I started like, I don't know, what you just said is I wear a weight of this industry all the time. You're constantly worrying, am I going to get booked? And your family's going, when are we going to go on vacation? You're going, I don't know, you're going to do the Bahamas again. Like, I hate being away that far away.
Yeah.
It's exile. It's like literally paradise exile. Now I don't drink, so even worse. But I always tell the crowd, while you were here, well, they don't realize, I don't think, and everybody goes through shit. And I'm not saying we go through shit to do this and we should be martyred. But we try to take everybody away from their life for an hour to an hour and a half. And even if this does that, and even if it gives like somebody, and I always tell people, we didn't talk about politics. We didn't talk about, gender, lesbian, gay, whatever.
Yeah.
We just sat here in a room together and laughed. And I really wish more people would do that. And I think it certainly is different than it ever was. And that's like, I feel like the country's divided, and the fact that we get to do this, I make stupid green screen videos as like Christopher Walken trying out for Gladiator. I can't imagine working in the car industry like I did for 17 years and still making those, because I mean, I may be the top salesman in America doing that, or I may be going from dealership to dealership going and they're like, isn't this that dude that wears the teeth that says I'm Spalding fucking Pemberton,
right?
But we do have the opportunity, and our world did blow up. But what you said like really resonates is you do give a shit, and that's why we wear weight. Because I remember my first time, I'm like, I'm done working. I don't work a day job anymore. And I remember I was going to Omaha to do a corporate show. And I remember thinking to myself, I can't suck anymore. Yeah. This is how I have to be from here on out. I have to be good. And my God, that changed everything for me. I thought, from here on out, I got to care. And that was where, like, did you have that feeling? And I mean, did it just land on you? And obviously when kids come along, it's even more weight,
Yeah, in the beginning I had that because I had been doing comedy a couple of years when my son was born, who's now 20. But and so I really had to, like, it was kind of ridiculous and I was way too optimistic. But it was like I have to do this now or I'm never going to do it, which is probably true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had that. But I still, not that I want to beat myself up, but I still, like I just did a show last week and the audience was pretty old. Like it was a country club and it was like, most of the people were 60 plus and which is, I'm only 11 years from that.
They're in between second and third, and you are right at second.
Yeah, exactly.
They're in a rundown right now, and you're standing there going, do I go back to first? No, you can't.
But I had, again, I didn't write a set list down, but it was like, obviously I'm going to be cleaner, because they told me I should be cleaner. So I was like, I was making some choices, and like it was overall a really good show. But on the way home, I was like, why did I do that? I picked one joke that I should not have done. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't like it ruined the show, but it was coming out of my mouth, and I'm like, this one's a little too far for this room. Yeah. And it was fine, but it's like I always want to have that. I always want to be able to go like, what did I do wrong? I don't ever want it to get to the point. Again, I don't want to beat myself up, but I don't want to not give a shit. I want to be like, do my own post game where it was like, this was great, but I should not have done that joke. Yeah. Or I should not have talked to that guy in the crowd. The show really went off the rails when I talked to that guy. I still do care about it. It changes as you do it longer, but it's still like, I just don't, we've all seen the guys who are just, or girls who are just like, again,
collecting a check.
Yep. And it's, the checks are important, but it's also like, it can't just be a check or I should get a different job because this job's hard as hell, travel wise and all the other stuff. So,
and just life. Well, not only that what you're doing now depends on your next check is what you figure. And that's how I've always looked at it, is how I perform now depends on somebody coming out and watching me again or telling their friends or somehow, some way getting a spark of lightning underneath you. And that's like you do, like I did my DryBar and you did yours, and yours is doing incredible. But you just want it a little bit farther. It's always like, and you chase it, and our level of success is success because we get to do what we do.
I absolutely agree with that. Yeah.
But you still want, like somebody asked me one time, like, what's your plan with this? And I said, well, to make my house payments and make sure my kids get what they want to do. And if I can still do that, and then that's success to me. But we want more. But really, when you think about it, man, we got a pretty good goddamn job.
I 1,000% agree with that.
And I don't think that you were ever saying anything against it, but I'm just adding to yours. One candle was still flickering. I'm like, yep.
No, I agree with that. And like we're in a line of work where whatever level you're at, the one above you is the one you want.
Yeah.
To the point where Chris Rock probably wishes he could make a good movie.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like in our world, he sells out theaters. You couldn't get higher. Do you know what I mean? But there is always that thing. But another, it's when you look back at that corporate gig you went to when you decided to be professional and you're like, I have to be funny from now on. I can't.
Yeah.
If you look back at that time and you look at all of your experiences and the things you've accomplished and the shows you've done since that time, past you would be pretty fucking thrilled with current you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes current us we're always looking forward, but if you look back, you're like, oh, I would have taken this deal. If you would have told me this was my life, I would have been like, oh, that's better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
just, and we sit and wear the worry of it the whole time and wonder, like, what's next without, it's kind of like turning around and looking at the roses that you just blew by.
Yeah.
And there's going to be trash littered there every once in a while, but mostly it's grown well. And that's like, I think we'll end it with that, dude. But
all right,
I think we need to do another one to have more. What time's your show tonight? So it's 5:00 here almost. So it's what, 3:00 there?
Yeah, about 3:00.
You have one show a night or two shows?
Two.
So What time's your first show?
7.
7. Are you excited for it?
Yeah, I am. It's a lot of shows. It's 14 in the week.
Yeah.
But it's it's great.
Now, do you have to do a new 15 minutes every night, or do you
No.
do?
I'm
Okay,
trying to. I'm mixing it up a little bit for my own entertainment value, but it's not.
Yeah.
There's not. There's no. They don't. You don't have to.
I was going to say, my God, if you had to do 14 new 15 minutes every time, I'd be opening the notebook from the early days.
That'd be too crazy. That would be way too crazy. No,
Yeah.
I'm trying to mix it up for my own. And then I also have a shirt that I have to do that joke every night.
Yeah. Is Coleco too far away to talk about? ColecoVision? You think anybody in here will know what that is?
Yeah.
I do a joke about getting a colostomy, and I say, what did I say? Colostomy. It's colonoscopy.
Okay, I was like, well, that sounds more serious. Are you okay?
Yeah. I think a colostomy is a bag that you carry around, right? Okay, yeah. Okay, no, colonoscopy. But I do this joke where I talk about when I was talking to the lady, I'm like, how young is the doctor? And she's like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, I don't want some old guy named Harold that played Legend of Zelda and it took him months to get through it. I want a kid that sucks on a Slurpee and runs that joystick up my 21 feet like he's going through Fortnite. Nothing at this one crowd.
Oh.
They were like younger, and they just looked at me like, what? And I don't think they understood what Legend of Zelda is. And so somebody said, why don't you say Pac-Man? And I'm like, okay. They definitely won't know Pac-Man. I mean, no younger kids know Pac-Man, right?
I think
Does anybody know that shit? There's no common ground.
They haven't played it, but it's probably more of just a known brand.
Yeah. I don't know.
What's funny is my daughter, she's 15, but when she was 14, she saw me. I did my theater show at Olympia. And I have a bunch of sex jokes about me and her mom. It's not.
She's had the class at school.
Yeah. So I was very interested / worried about what she would say after the show.
Right.
And the only thing she said is, what's a coin?
Call my therapist.
She's like, I made an appointment myself. No, she was like, what's a Coinstar machine? Because I have a joke about a Coinstar machine. And I was, you know what those
none
are?
of the other stuff ever came up.
I guess no, or she didn't care. She was just like, what's a Coinstar machine? And then I told her what it was, and she's like, oh, yeah. But none of the sex stuff, none of the anything. She was just like, after an hour, she was like, what's a Coinstar machine? I was like, all right, I'll take that as the question.
What did your wife, though? Was she worried about the whole time up there? Every time you said something, was she like, ugh?
Not really. She kind of talked me into letting her go because they've seen online stuff.
Right.
For sure, but it's fine. It's I was a little worried about it. I mean, just sitting here thinking about if my parents were actively talking about their sex life, I wouldn't be thrilled.
Yeah.
So
then I have to ask you. I'm not going to ask you which joke it was, but I'm going to talk to you about one joke before I get you off here, because this is one thing I wrote down last night.
Okay.
I want to know the story, because I think you addressed it once. And do you know which one I'm about to ask you about?
I don't think I do.
It has to deal with sex. It has to deal with a rock star.
I still don't know.
Safe word.
Oh, Milo. Yes. Okay.
So I want to know the story, because this is an interesting thing to me. And I don't know this joke well, but you have one joke that I think of because I'm in jiu-jitsu. When you say about your child learning karate, goes, let's face it, I'm paying $100 a month so my kid bows before getting his ass kicked.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Sensei Rick. I love that joke. But I want to know the meatloaf joke. I'm going to give you what I know about it.
Okay.
You came up with that joke. You wrote that, and you wrote it a long time ago. And then you started seeing memes of it online of people using it, right? And
yeah.
And you weren't saying nobody cease and desist, but give credit where credit's due, right?
Okay, so I have an album actually that came out in 2016 called My Safe Word is Meatloaf. The joke is, my wife and I's paraphrasing, but my wife and I's safe word is meatloaf. If one of us says meatloaf during sex, it means I would do anything for love, but I won't do that.
Yeah.
So
brilliant.
I
by
did
the
that
way.
joke for years. No one ever said, "Oh yeah, I've heard that before." No one ever said like my uncle had that joke. I did it for years. I had a T-shirt. I had an album. I'd kind of stopped doing it, and all of a sudden these memes come out with that. The best safe word is meatloaf. And, I started getting all these emails from people. Isn't this your joke? Look, I don't put anything on TikTok anymore that's not just video, but this was my early in my TikTok days. I was like, I made a video that was like, hey, I think this is my joke. And it's like, millions of people are sharing it, and it kind of sucks that I don't. And then I got killed in the comments. People are like,
Really?
I heard that joke a million times. You did right shit, blah, blah, blah. I ended up taking the video.
Isn't that weird?
Taking the video down. And again, no one ever said in the probably 5 years I performed it, no one ever said like, by the way, I've heard that joke before. No one ever said that. But
yeah,
it sort of takes off. And then unfortunately, if I bring it up now, I'm the guy who's stealing that thing. It's also, you were talking about birds. I had a weird thing happen with that where someone who follows me on Twitter tweeted. This is bird joke, so tweeted. He said, I'm paraphrasing his thing, but it was like, there's something about age sneaks up on you. One day you're like, is that, he didn't say yellow-thrested warbler, which is what my line is. He said like yellow something. It was warbler, but not yellow-thrested. And it was like, I honestly don't think he remembers. He didn't mean to do it. He didn't mean to like take it from me, but he had seen my video. He had liked the video. He got it from me. He didn't remember. To his credit, he put up, hey, this is a Gabriel Rutledge joke. I didn't know. I took mine down. Go check.
That's cool.
It went bananas viral. It went because the thing that went viral was just the screenshot of his tweet. So he took it down, but it doesn't matter. So it's like it's like millions and millions, and then it went to Instagram, and then it went to Facebook, and then it went to, and it's like 2 times I've had, it's on the DryBar special, you know what I mean? And and I
don't think I got to that part.
But it's 2 times I've had like it's this weird thing where it's like, it was a successful joke for me, but it's also like, it's this weird thing where it goes viral and you're like, I told you it was fucking funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Wake up, stupid. And the line moved.
And also, like, not to be, anyone can make a joke about birds. I don't own birds. I'm not saying that at all. Or, it's, people in general are kind of like, it's hard because everyone's content's out there. You can see everyone, it's getting less and less, or it's getting harder and harder to have an original idea because we all see,
without question,
So I'm not even hung up on so-and-so has a joke like that and you shouldn't. It's like, hey, whatever. But those 2 particular ones are like, and I probably would still do that bird joke at a corporate gig now, but it already wasn't an everyday joke. But again, it's like, if I did that joke for the old people last week, and in my head, I'm like, I wonder if they're going to be like, oh, the meme.
They would now, because they're always on that shit.
But it was in my own head. It was totally fine. You know what I mean? It was totally fine. But it is that thing where it's and it's not just me.
I call people all the time and say, hey, have you ever heard anything like this? And they'll be like, no, kinda. And I'll be like, okay, like, what have you heard? Because I worry about that. Like, sometimes if they come really easy into your head, you're like, oh, this has got to be a joke. Somebody's done this.
Have you ever seen that meme that's like, it's Betty White? She was like, it's something like, I don't know why, if someone's being weak, you call them a pussy. Those things can take a pounding or something like that. And it's badly paraphrased. I just did a terrible job of it. Betty White never said that. Betty White would never say that.
Yeah.
It was a Shang Wang, a comedian. It was his joke. And so it got taken from him and given to Betty White. So it is weird. It is a weird. There's tons of stand-up comics who our jokes are just out there in meme form now, accredited to the world. And if we were like, hey, that's my joke, they're like, shut up.
Yeah. No, it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but nobody goes up to Dan Arbach from the Black Keys and says, you didn't write Lonely Boy. That's an old blues song somebody else wrote. Because he had a few from the first album that were Junior Kimbroughs.
That's kind of how I feel about comedy now. It's like, hey, man, it's there's a certain amount of chords.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? It's like and sometimes the
88 keys on a piano. Dan Chopin told me one time. He goes, there's 88 keys on a piano. People are going to touch them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely true. And sometimes because of like Joe Rogan and Carlos Mencia stuff, and people are hung. Eddie Schumer steals jokes, and it's like they'll get hung up, and people will say to me, "I saw a guy steal your joke." I'm like, "What joke?" And it's the premise. It's just the premise. I'm like, "No, we're allowed."
Yeah,
we're all
I got
allowed.
accused of that.
Yeah,
by a pretty big guy, and I'd opened for him numerous times, and then some fucktard open micer says, "Yeah, he stole somebody else's joke too." And I didn't even know what he was talking about. So after the show, this dude came up to me and says, we need to have a talk. And it was because my joke is talking about my dog vomiting. And I make a noise. I go, the worst sound I go, if a tornado siren goes off, fire alarms, you won't move. But if you hear this song at 4:30 in the morning, and I make that noise, I go, you'll spring out of bed. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I don't even know who you're talking about. He's telling me that it's this guy's joke. And I'm like, I don't even know who that guy is. And then he says, well, that kid, the host kid, said you stole, what did he say? A Walkman joke. And I go, Walkman joke? I had a Walkman. My joke was about my kids complain about the size of their phone. I'm like, I carried around a giant Walkman in my back pocket that barely worked. And I was like, what are you talking about? It was one of those things like, I was so pissed off. I wanted to it was like almost fighting words. They were saying, and I'm like, I never fucking stole anybody's joke. Everything in my life is basically about me. I'm not stealing, and that's, somebody told me one time, well, if you're worried that they're stealing your material, write more jokes. And I thought, okay, that's cool. But if you get accused of stealing material and you didn't, then what do you do?
I have had that experience once as well, years ago. Like sort of an old road hack called me up and was like, I ended up being very embarrassed because I'm like, first of all, if we both have the same premise, it's not, that doesn't speak well of me.
What was it about?
It was
Don Perdome's voice.
No, it was, I bought, it's just a dumb joke. I bought a toilet plunger because I needed to buy a toilet plunger. It's usually not a preemptive purchase. It's like, I better go buy a toilet plunger.
Right.
And I didn't get a bag. And so I'm just like walking through the parking lot. I think the line was like I'm Grand Marshal in the Poop Pride Parade. Just like, and then this guy who I hadn't worked with in, at that time, 8 years, 10 years, he's like, I heard you're doing a toilet plunger joke. And I go, even at the time, I'm like, yeah, I don't really do it anymore, but I did. And he's like, well, I've been doing a toilet plunger joke since it was literally like 30 years or something. And I go,
for 30 years.
Okay.
It's my closer.
First of all, you shouldn't tell people you've been doing a joke that long. And then he was like real accusatory. And,
oh my God.
and then he's like, and I know you heard me do it because I looked through my notes and you opened for me and he mentioned a date like 8 years ago. And I go, okay, I wrote that joke because I was staying at a comedy condo in Spokane, Washington. I took a shit and plugged up the toilet, and then I had to go to the store to buy a plunger. And I'm like, I didn't remember that you had a joke about it. I didn't remember what it, and it's like, I don't
And
even.
neither does anybody else at those shows.
It's just so wild. And then he kind of backed off because at first he was real confrontational. And then I'm like, hey, man, if I remembered you had one, I wouldn't have said it. I'm not even doing it anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And then it kind of like backed off. And he's like, yeah, he's like, oh, yeah, he's like, I can't. Business has changed, man. There's like no work out there, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, oh, I'm pretty busy.
Yeah. Matter of fact, that joke picked me up 2 shows last week.
Yeah,
And I put that thing in. It's gone viral.
Yeah.
Hold on. My wife has just pulled up in our new car.
Yeah. Stop by my website, Gabriel the Plunger Guy Rutledge.
It's just you with one stuck on your face, like Jim Carrey.
Shit happens. I'm like,
Your CD. Maybe you saw my DVD. It actually looks like a plunger. And if you take a stick and put it in it, you can put it in the tray.
he's watching me on Netflix, just in his trailer, covered in PBR cans, like, son of a bitch.
You're juggling plungers and then throwing them at like the picture cardboard cut out of him on the wall, spinning.
Thank God
Last one
I
hits
opened for you at that Red Lion Lounge in the early 2000s.
The Red Lion Lounge. It was tough to hear. Our wireless mic kept going out every time that guy plugged in his air nose thing. And every time they made a margarita with a blender, it cut out the mic.
Yeah.
Well, shit, dude. So where can everybody find you at? And I don't know, dude. This might get 12 views. It might get 42.
All
it
right,
might get
buddy.
42,000. But all I wanted to do is, I really, when I worked in the car industry, I loved working with customers because it was new conversations all the time. And now that I work in this industry for so many years, it's like we have all these things that we want to talk about with each other, but we don't get to see each other. And sometimes it's like it's like a boxing match where you're just feeling that person out in the green room, and
Sure.
you don't know how much anxiety they have that day, or and this to me is a great way to communicate with people that I admire, for one. And not only that, I think it's a great thing for other people to know who you are, maybe find your stuff online, because you got a lot of great things going with DryBar, but like
Yeah,
you
I
said,
appreciate that,
there's
man.
one more rung, right?
I think GabrielRutledge.com will be most of the places. I have, besides the DryBar, I have 2 full-length shows on my YouTube. You can watch. I actually have written books. One's like a kid's book for adults. And one of them's called Happiness Isn't Funny, True Stories of a Road Comic. Some of the things we talked about today, some of those themes of like what it's, especially because I wrote it in 2010, so it was a different point in my life.
Oh my God, yeah.
So it's like, it
has to be interesting for you to go back and
for sure
revisit.
I'm actually doing the audio book of it now, finally, and it's
dude.
I cringe. Some of the stuff I say, I'm like,
you should do, when you do the audiobook, you should do that chapter and then do what you think about what you just read.
I might
and then
do
go to
that.
the next chapter.
Yeah,
Because I think that
yeah.
would be cool, like to have like almost like you foreshadowed and now what you think of those same sentiments. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, it would be.
Not telling you how to do the book.
No,
but
I agree, because
from a listener standpoint, it'd be fun to hear.
A Doug Stanhope book, I listened to an audio, and he would read the chapter and then have a guest on who was in the chapter, and then the guest would be like, here's what you got wrong. You didn't remember this right. And it was really cool. It was like audiobook, podcast, back to the audiobook.
Right.
It was really cool. So I am thinking about playing with that. Like, just if I say something that I don't agree with anymore, I'll be like, author's note. So anyway, I got all kinds of stuff you can watch. I actually have a podcast called The Drive Home with Gabriel Rutledge. It's just me in my car talking to myself. I play audio clips of fun moments from shows and stuff. So I have a ton of content to ignore or enjoy.
Well, I appreciate it. I'll post it on here too. Just send me all the links and I'll make sure to post it on here. So
okay, thanks, buddy. This was a blast.
God damn. I loved it. I think we knocked out 2 hours. I don't think we have the first 20 minutes of video because because we're both sitting there and I remember we go, hey, it just started saying record.
Yeah,
So
your
shit.
video had started.
So for those of you that just caught in at about the 20-minute mark, that was Gabriel. I'm Doug. And this is why I call it running in the dark. Me and a buddy, during the podcast, we trained jiu-jitsu together. I was just kind of thinking like, dude, the world right now, I felt like I was running in the dark. I really did. I was like, and I still feel that way every time I get on a plane to leave where I live and I'm comfortable to go in front where I'm really comfortable, but yet until I get on the stage, I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah,
and
for
I
sure.
think you probably, everything you said today is the same way, but we'll jump back on another one because I got some other stuff I didn't cover with you. And
Okay, man, let's do it.
I'll just tell you what it is. I went through and scoured some of your pictures from your Facebook. And I wanted to bring them up, but I couldn't figure out how to do it today.
Okay. All right.
But next time we talk, I'm going to bring them up because I want to know explanations on some of these pictures I saw because I was like, holy shit, what is going on here?
I'm scared but intrigued. Okay.
It's your early headshots because
yeah.
but there's some other ones too.
All right,
so
we'll save that. But just spoiler alert, I used to be a lesbian. Anyway, we'll get to that next time.
yeah, and I drive a Subaru. My whole family does. Well, dude, I hope you have great shows. It was so good to catch up with you, and safe travels. And,
Thanks, buddy.
And I'll see you next time, man. We'll see you later, buddy.
All right, appreciate it, Doug.
Adios.
Thanks, pal.
Ladies and gentlemen, holy shit, right? The first 20 minutes, I forgot to click record. I'm trying this new yard stream thing, and I know I screwed it up. But yeah, that's the shit I wanted right there, was just to have him on there. And you guys got to meet Gabriel Rutledge. If you didn't know who he was, I'm going to put some links in the bottom. Check him out. What a great conversation. And yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to do this podcast for. You get to meet new people. I get to talk to people that I've known and that share the same sentiments with me on the road, because it's a wild life, and I appreciate it. You guys tuned in. Hit subscribe, hit like. I'm hoping to put one of these out every week. Next week I got a Midwestern guy hopefully going to be on here. I worked with him years ago, and tune in next time. I've been Doug T, and this was Running in the Dark. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.